so much. Hello, welcome again to Rhythms of the Village. Welcome to another tutorial on polyrhythms. This is one of my personal favorite polyrhythms. I think you're going to love it too. This is very, very common in West Africa. And the particular example that you heard of us using a song that goes with it is Ayo, which is a song that we actually introduced to you in one of the beginning tutorials where we were just talking about beat subdivision, specifically the subdivision into triplets, which is the part that you heard Jalen here playing on this djembe to my right. So the rhythm pattern you heard me playing was the new pattern that I'm going to introduce to you today. And this is a really fun pattern. You're really going to enjoy it. And what you heard Baba Onoche playing was all sorts of different things. He was really playing the solo role in our little ensemble here. So this is very common in West African music and kind of brilliant, is the fact that you can have any number of drums and any number of people in the ensemble, and they can all pick the rhythm patterns that will fit together to create music. It's always going to be different depending on what group you have. And then someone will solo over the top, invent using the different rhythm patterns that are known, and then maybe inventing new ones altogether, and then somebody else can solo, and it becomes a whole communication that way. It's really quite beautiful. So let's break down this pattern that I was playing on this little djembe here. So this one is one of the more complex ones and is one of the reasons why I've left it to the end here, because it's a long pattern. In other rhythm patterns, we've done things in 2/4, 3/4, and sometimes it's 2 measures, but generally you're looking at something that's divided into between 2 beats or 3 beats or maybe the most 4. This one is a full pattern that has 6 entire beats. So we're going to rate this meter as 6/4. This is one that we haven't done yet. So 6 beats per measure, and the 4 on the bottom means that the quarter note gets 1 beat. In the past we did 6/8, if you remember, so 6/8 notes in a measure, but this one will have 6 quarter notes. It'll just be easier to write and easier to understand. Okay, I'm going to start by writing out the 8th note subdivision for this in counts. That's really going to help you get the syncopation, because you'll be able to see which notes go in between beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay. So now very slowly, I'm going to play this rhythm again for you with the counts. Okay, first I'm just going to count the quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now here it is with the 8th notes as well. It's all right, please. We're going to be explaining things for a little while, so he will come back. Don't worry, Baba Onoche is not disappearing forever. Okay, so now here with the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Complicated one, isn't it? Okay. The first 2 beats are the easiest. They just go straight on beats 1 and 2. There's nothing in between on the ands. So those for sure are quarter notes. They're a full beat value each. 1 and 2 and. So those will each be quarter notes. Now because I've been playing on the rim and that pitch becomes pretty high, I'm going to write on the top of our staff. 1 and 2 and. Okay. So now when we get to beat 3, that's where the syncopation starts. Notice that we're going to have a short note value on 3, and then we're going to have a long note value on the and of 3, which is going to put the accent on the and, the half beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Listen again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And. Okay. So because that short note value is only worth half a beat, the note on beat 3 is actually an eighth note. Okay. Then on the and, that was where you had the long note value. And this note value is going to hold for the and of 3 plus the first half of beat 4. So if you put those two halves together, you actually end up with a full quarter note value, even though it starts on an and, which is kind of confusing in the beginning. Okay, so you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we have another note value there on the and of 4. Let's see how long it is before we reach the next note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So notice that it starts on the and of 4, but it continues through beat 5. So again, you have two halves of a beat, even though it starts on the and. So that's going to be quarter note.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now we have another eighth note value. Listen to the note that happens after beat 5. So here on the and listen to the following note that happens on 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Notice the and 6 and. So this quarter note holds for the and of 4 and the first half of beat 5. So we need the short note value to go on the and of 5. It's only going to be worth half a beat because you hear another note on 6. So we put an eighth note here. And then our last quarter note is on 6. All right, very good. So now you have the whole thing. Let's play it and count it together. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Pretty fun and complex at the same time. Okay, now here's where it gets really sticky, because this actually does fit with this triplet subdivision. So Jalen, would you mind playing your part on your own, please? So you can hear the triplets, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But notice that the first note that he's putting down with his hand is where the beat lies. That's where your quarter note is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Thank you very much. So this is where it gets a little complicated, because the accents create a totally different meter from this one above. Don't panic. We're going to write it out the way we hear it separately, and then we'll explain how we can put these two together. Let's choose a different color. I like blue. Okay, so for now, we're going to write this in, okay. We want the eighth note value to line up. Notice that the smallest note value we have in this rhythm is the eighth note. It's the and. So we want the eighth note to be equal in this separate rhythm. So I'm going to say, all right, we have 4, let's say we have 4 beats in this type of rhythm, in the rhythm that Jalen was playing, each with 3 little eighth notes inside. So 4 times 3 is 12. And we're going to put 8 on the bottom because that is the eighth note value, gets 1 beat. Okay, let's follow this out. So we have 2 lower notes that he's playing in the middle of the drum. Thank you for that demonstration. And then you have a higher note that he's playing on the rim. And that is a group of 3. That's your triplet subdivision. Okay, so that's basically your first beat. Okay, then we do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that's a little off. Sorry, I'll get out of your way in just a moment. Okay, then here's another one. 1, 2, 3. Again, I didn't line it up quite right. 1, 2, 3. Then our last one. You know what? I have to line it up just right so that it makes sense. Let me do it a little bit cleaner for you. What I'm trying to do is show how 2 eighth note values aligns with each one of these quarter notes. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and then the third one should line up with this quarter note, 3. Okay, then again, 1, 2, and now the marker is deciding to act up. Sometime today. Please, green. Let's be good. All right. That's better. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Sorry, drawing tight. 1, 2, 3. And last but not least, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if we play that while looking at the notes as written, Jalen, would you mind?
I don't mind at all.
We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so you can hear how we can think of it as either 12 little eighth notes or 4 quarter notes with triplet eighth note subdivision inside. Either one of those works. Okay, so now how to reconcile these two. How can you have 6/4 and 12/8 happening at the same time? Well, again, the answer is in the common subdivision. So the common subdivision in this case is the and. It's the half a beat. So I'm going to draw lines to the notes that are going to actually align. So you see these notes go together. These go together. Notice there's 2 eighth notes per every quarter note. Okay, so this quarter note is equal to these 2 eighth note values. This eighth note goes with this one. Now this is where it gets really interesting because of the syncopation. So now you have a quarter note with this eighth note and it is worth both of these eighth note values. Now you have this quarter note lined up with this eighth note for these 2 eighth note values. 1 eighth note with 1 eighth note, and the last quarter note with these 2 values. You see how it actually does line up? It adds up because of the least common multiple. It's pretty cool. Okay, so now there isn't really a very accurate and good way to write this on a single staff because most of the time you're not going to see 6/4 and 12/8 or 4/4 for that matter on the same piece of music. But you could finagle it in a couple of ways. Like we could actually split this up into being, 6/8 here, and this also to being 6/8, but then having each one of the 2 measures of 6/8 be divided into 3 beats. So it doesn't really work in that it'll add up to the right number of beats, but it won't accurately show what the rhythm is doing and where the accents are. If you have more ideas on this and how to write this well, please give us some comments in our YouTube channel comment section. Okay, shall we play it all together another time? And now, Baba Onoche is also going to demonstrate an interesting word device for you that actually speaks what all these three parts are together. Will you share with us a little bit about that?
Sure. The three drums are saying, when played together, they're saying, ba-ding, 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 ba-ding. That's what they're saying. And I can do that on my drum. And that's what we are playing. But what happens is we have to play individual drums with individual pattern for each drum to make that the combination of those patterns make.
Isn't that interesting? So if you've looked at other musical traditions, we also have words that describe anything from rhythm to pitch, because those are basically the two things that make up your music, right? There's rhythm and pitch. Well, there's also volume. So for example, most of you know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's solfege. Those are words that for all other purposes sound like gibberish, but they describe pitches and how they relate together in a tonal scale. And this is similar. It's a word device that tells us something about the rhythm pattern we're about to play. So we could spend a whole other set of films and tutorials about just that subject alone. And all these different cultures actually have other ways of using words to describe these musical patterns. Pretty cool. Okay, let's play together.
Sure.
Shall we go a little faster? Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed our tutorials on polyrhythms. Join us again at Rhythms of the Village. Bye-bye.